Every once in a while we hear something that perhaps can, for us, become a great truth. A truth we can sort of live inside of for the rest of our lives. It's the kind of thing that seems to find us. There is this little poem that for me seems to be becoming just that. Something I can live inside of. I don't know why, all the way. Perhaps it's because, for me, it seems to describe Jesus. Jesus' whole life. The reason for this great inbreaking into human history that we celebrate tonight and throughout the world. It's something of what I fell in love with when I fell in love with him. It's what he described about himself and his mission in the world, when at the very threshold of his ministry he announced to the world, "I am here to proclaim liberty to captives. I am here. My whole purpose in being is to proclaim liberty, freedom to captives." A while back, a friend shared this poem with me that seems to me, at least, to capture that. It traces back to the 14th century from a poet named Hafiz. And I'd like to make it tonight my gift to you this Christmas. And I share this simple little poem with you in the hopes tonight that it might mean something to at least some of you. The small man builds cages for everyone he knows, while the sage, who has to duck his head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. Let me share it once again, this time changing just a little bit of it. The small woman builds cages for everyone she knows, while the sage, who has to duck her head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. What I hear in those few words is that whether we live large or whether we live small is really, in the end, our choice. Too many of us live small. Too many of us live small and shrinking lives when we could be living large in the world. We were never meant to die small, you and I. We were never meant to shrink into oblivion. Let me tell you, over the years, I have seen too many come to their end only shrinking instead of growing large for the world. We are never smaller than when we place undue burdens on some people, even our spouses, our children, even our employees at work or our bosses, our friends, those who are trying their best to lead on the world stage and in our church. And we keep them chained, we do. We keep them chained by our expectations that are just too high and humanly impossible to achieve. Expectations that they be perfect and never disappoint and never fail and never be wrong. That's a cage we build. We are never smaller than when we keep people chained by our own unforgiveness, defining them by their latest disappointment to us, the last time they hurt us, or even their last mess-up and failure, moral or otherwise. The person across the kitchen table, or again, one of those persons on the stages of the world. That's a cage we put people in. We're never smaller than when we're greedy and stingy, even about our ideas, not just about our things, but even our ideas, our insights, our learning that could help them live their life better. But because we're so stingy and greedy, we keep it to ourselves because we want to look important. We want to look necessary. We want it to be our idea. That's small. And it's putting people in cages still. And we are never smaller than when we try to control another human being, even manipulate them, even for what we consider to be good reasons. This is a cage. Indeed, the small man builds cages for everyone he knows. But the sage who has to duck her head when the moon is low, the sage, this key dropper, who is always expanding, seeing the bigness and the beyondness and the potential of the person right in front of them. Their consciousness is so up there, so open, they're so large that even the moon seems to hang too low for their heads. They're large because they're large in love. They're made large because they're making a difference and they're trying to help. Those are the people you know you've been with when you've been with them. The stingy, the greedy, the cage makers. You forget them as soon as you walk away. But these who drop keys to try to help people be free, they're so large that a poet can only describe it with an image like they're so large that they almost have to duck their head because they could hit it on the moon. My friends, there's not a one of us who has not put people in cages and even been our own worst bully. But we have the key. Jesus is that key, and he left it for us, just there at the gate of our cages, just there, right in front of us. Freedom is here. We have that key, and we can reach it for ourselves. It's been placed there so we can reach it for ourselves and unlock our own prisons. Remember another scene from the teacher's life, when one of his friends and disciples, whom he named Peter, stood before him and it was getting time for him to leave. And just before he left, the teacher said to him, "Peter, now you have the keys. You have the keys now, Peter, that can set people free. You have the keys of the kingdom that is within you. All you need to be free. I give them to you now so that you can give them to others." Key dropping is all about empowering. It's about empowerment. An empowerment that happens to human beings when we respect them, when we affirm them, when we let them know in 1,000 ways that they matter to us and they matter to this world. We empower them by passing on the knowledge we've gained for their sake. when we listen to them and to their stories, that opens up possibilities for them. Possibilities to try something new or do it a different way, to be freer tomorrow than they were yesterday. Think about the times, my friends, when someone has really helped you think differently, live differently. It was like they placed a key on the ground right there in front of you, and you picked it up. You unlocked one of your own cages with that key that somebody dropped for you. We are all of us, truth be told, we are all of us swinging between being a sage, looming large, and being a cage maker, becoming so small and shrinking. I was just talking to a married couple tonight, earlier this evening, and they said you could almost describe their whole marriage as making cages for each other and then giving each other the key to be free, over and over again. You see, my friends, the beautiful, rowdy prisoner is everywhere around you and in that mirror in front of you. We are all in cages of some sort, and I'd say we're making a hell of a noise in the world in our desire to be free. We are the rowdy, beautiful prisoners. And so is every single person we meet, clamoring to be free, the freedom to be their best and their largest self, to live life out from under and live fully. People and cultures and systems, even religions and governments, parents and priests, will all leave us sometimes more afraid and more ashamed. But those are just more cages. But the one whose birthday we celebrate tonight came to set us free from all that keeps us so small, so inhibited, and tells us that the key to our freedom lies at the gate. We were kicking and screaming for freedom from cages in which we aren't even aware we have been confined. Rowdy, beautiful prisoners we are. You see what the poet teaches and what the teacher taught is I don't unlock people's prisons. People have to unlock their own prisons. Yours and mine is only to humbly love them so that they can find the key that they have carried their whole lives inside themselves and didn't even know it. I say humbly because those are the three words that stayed with me the most in the poem that I struggled with. And I think I finally figured out at least what it means to me. Because if you remember the way it came, she keeps dropping keys all night long. Why do you think it was in the night? I think it was in the night because he or she knows that it is not about them. It's not about what they've done for anybody in the end. We're not the great liberators, you and I. Because then the prisoner would be left in another cage of indebtedness to us. Indebtedness is what I hear in the words of parents sometimes when I just get letters like I did this week that say, I don't understand. I've given my daughter, my son, everything he ever wanted or needed. I've set up incredible trust for him, and they're so ungrateful, and they don't do anything I've ever asked. That's a cage. They don't mean to put them in cages like that, but it happens all the time. Instead, while it's not about us who drop the keys, it's about them being able to reach it and unlocking their own cage. Tell me, what keys do you hold that could set a prisoner free? Your ability to listen to the stories they tell with respect, your knowledge, your compassion, your faith, your hope for them. Why not start dropping those keys then now everywhere you go? I know that I want to be in the business of dropping keys. I want that to be my life, as surely as I know I'm going to be putting people in cages here and there along the way. I can only hope that my life is less about cages and more about dropping keys, because I want that to be my business. It need not trouble me if they are picked up or left be. It need not trouble me that I sometimes, in the deep of the night, do not get any recognition or acknowledgement that I did anything right. It need not even trouble me that I must do this alone or in the dark. I need only to be troubled by the fact that everywhere I look, outside of me and inside of me, I see those beautiful, rowdy prisoners. My friends, if you're one of those who would value helping people become free, even the ones you've put in cages yourself, then quick, duck, because you're about to hit your head on the moon.